Halloween.
Forever.
Guys, what do you call an accordion playing ghost?
What?
Pocahontas. Welcome.
Is that like an slightly inappropriate joke?
Minisode of Halloween is forever. I'm Ryan.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
Steve made a face that was like he could smell the joke physically. Like he had a sensory reaction to that joke.
His face was the same way, you know, like the sounds and everything that came out of his mouth. Yeah,
it was like somebody put like smelling salts under his nose.
He tasted that, how bad that joke was.
It was better on paper. It didn't deliver in the way that I wanted it to. But you know what? We'll keep trying. They can't all be gems.
Do you remember those Pocahontas glasses you could get at Burger King, like when we were kids?
Yeah, they're the only glassware I have. That and the McDonald's Batman and Robin series glassware.
Yeah,
I have several of those.
They need to start doing glassware again. Let's go.
Well, they do. They do have the boo pails, which
I did get one for my niece. I did pick one up for her. Yeah,
but they don't have lids.
No, they don't have lids. They're not not nearly as good as the old ones, but I mean, they're not for kids. They're just for 38-year-old man children like myself. If somebody was like, guys, $1 million, right? You got to put it on yes or no. Has Brian collected all three of the boo pails? Which side are you putting it on?
I would say no, simply because of location. And finding them all might be a problem where we live.
That would be my only. Yeah, that would be my only thing too, because of like when I went and got the one pail, and I was like, I'm gonna grab this for a niece. They were like, we only have the green ones, and I'm like, okay, so actually, no, I'm gonna take it back. You have them. You made a point. You travel a lot.
Yeah, sure do. Yeah, I sure do. I got all three of them, guys. I got all three of them, some bitches, in my kitchen right now. I went, between Kate, myself, and one of our friends who ended up getting me the third one, we probably frequented something like a dozen McDonald's in the last couple of weeks, but we got them, baby. We got the set. We had some goddamn Happy Meals. I've been eating some cheeseburgers this week.
See, none of us said no out of lack of trying. We just said no that maybe they didn't have them in the area.
No, I got them. I got them motherfuckers. Also, here's just a little bit of a news flash for you. Regular ass McDonald's cheeseburgers suck. You gotta get them. You gotta get a double. A double or a quarter pounder
too
or
much
a Big
bread.
Mac.
It's too much bread.
Yeah, way too much bread. It really showcases how truly tiny the McDonald's burger patty is when there's just simply one of them on the burger.
I decided, like those toys, like those weird adult Happy Meals they were doing for a little while there too. I also went because my niece put me out on the prowl to like grab
they had,
them.
Like dildos in them and shit.
I just talked about my niece. No, Brian.
Oh,
stop.
I just heard adult Happy Meals. So I just assumed they had,
called adult Happy
toys.
Meal, but yeah. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, like anal
maybe
beads.
A future. But last time I got when I got one of those, I got the Big Mac one, and I like ended up taking out the bread again. What is with all the bread, y'all? That's all I'm saying. Too much bread.
No, it's too much. It's too much bread. You're not lying.
That was the end of my story. That just got ruined by you bringing in anal beads and dildos into the conversation.
You said adult Happy
Brian,
Meals. Of course, I immediately when I used to live up in Wisconsin, we lived in the best trick or treat neighborhood ever. We used to get like 300 kids. It was just nonstop kids.
You got dildos too?
Well,
did you?
No. Here's where I'm going with this story. All the parents in Wisconsin walk around and get hammered while their kids trick or treat. It's a blast.
Fuck yeah, they do.
And so on our neighbor, I worked for Miller Coors when I lived in Milwaukee. So I always had just like an alarming amount of beer. So I would put out a cooler that was the first time I ever put it out on the porch. I put a little sign on it that says adult treats. And Kate was like, that sounds like it might be dildos. So put treats for adults. And then I changed that subtle change in wording made all the difference.
It really does.
Why didn't you put out dildos is my
Because
question.
I didn't work for a dildo company. If I worked for a dildo company and had unlimited dildos, I would have given out dildos to the entire neighborhood. But
it's arguable whether or not Miller is a dildo company.
it kind of is. A
They
dildo
hire
company.
a bunch of dildos. Let's be real.
It is kind of
Like
a dildo
Brian.
company.
Like Brian.
Yeah, like me. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're not here to talk about dildos
Today.
We're here to talk about. We kind of are here to talk about dildos, but we are also here to talk about a brand new, newly released Shudder exclusive from the year of our Lord 2022. We're talking VHS 99, guys, which we watched. We all watched it over the last couple of days because it just came out on Friday, right? Thursday or Friday?
Come out on that 20th.
Yep. So we're going to talk about that, but we got a couple other things we got to do at the top of the show here. Couple of things. First and foremost, this time of year, we get an alarming amount of new listeners, which we very much appreciate, but also fuck you freeloaders. You bandwagon fans. Let's see if you're hanging around here in February. I dare you. Because no, we get a lot of new fans, which we very much appreciate, and a lot of new listeners. Here's how this whole show goes. Every Monday we release an episode. Once a month, first Monday of the month, we do what's called a showdown episode. So what happens there is our listeners and our social media friends suggest a bunch of topics for us. We put them on this big old spinny ass wheel. We draw 3 of them. We put them on the social medias for everyone to decide via votes on a poll on Instagram and Twitter. And then whatever wins, we each pick a movie associated with that topic or subgenre or whatever the hell it is. And then we talk about it. We argue which one's best. Someone gets put in the Boston Crab. And then ultimately we determine whose flick reigns supreme for that month. They take home that sumbitchin' championship strap for the month. Currently, Steve is the champ. I will listen. It pains me to say it, but he is, in fact, the back-to-back champ, I believe, right? In consecutive months. So we've already decided what our
I
November
still put an
showdown.
asterisk on October. I still already did. In my mind.
I know you do. I know you do. But unfortunately. So there was some turmoil. Go back and listen to the October episode, guys.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say.
You'll hear the change in my tone.
There was a lot of stuff happening. Meg got really butthurt. Anyway, Steve did take it home. And then the week after that showdown episode, whoever wins gets to pick the movie for the very next mini-sode, which is our kind of other episodes throughout the month, which are, in fact, rarely miniature in length. In any case, next month, our November one, which we will be talking, leading up to this episode, we'll be watching the movies associated with it around the spooky season, around the week of Halloween, which, of course, is this very week. We're doing Universal Monsters. So if you have a suggestion for a Universal Monster movie, classic or more contemporary, that you think we should give it a good old look, maybe it's an overlooked one, or maybe it's one that's underappreciated or something like that, throw it our way. Also, if you want to give us a review on like the Spotify's or on Apple Podcasts, if you give us 5 stars and write a little thingy, shoot me a DM. It's at Halloween is Forever at Halloween is Forever on the Instagrams. And I'll send you some damn Halloween is Forever stickers in the mail. I actually sent out about 8 of them last week, which was pretty cool. Otherwise, we're on all the other social media platforms. Search Halloween is Forever. It's a damn little digital pumpkin thing. You'll see it. But we're talking spooky shit all damn year long. All right. What else? One other, announcement we should probably make folks aware of. We did have a live show scheduled at Hop Farm Brewing Company on Saturday, this coming Saturday of kind of Halloween weekend, which was the 29th. Unfortunately, that is going to need to be rescheduled. Some situations beyond our control have manifested themselves in the world, and we are not able to do a show there that night, but that's okay. We're going to do one, coming up not too far down the road. Whenever we have some more details on when that date is, we'll keep you abreast rest of it. But we are going to do a live show here coming up soon, but it is not going to be this Saturday. So FYI. Now, before we get into this damn flicky, does Jens have some beers that you're drinking?
Uh-huh.
What you got?
I am back on my old Fallon bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think I was just drinking the classic pumpkin a couple weeks ago. But this one is the pumpkin cream ale cheesecake.
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 I love a beer with a high fat content. You know what I mean? It really helps head retention.
I want a beer that can spoil in the sun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Must keep refrigerated
It actually
or
curdles.
it will curdle. Yeah. How is it? Is it good?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
it's fine.
No matter what you say, I'm going to say no. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I know you want to say no, but actually it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit tangy, a little bit sweeter than the other one. Like O'Fallon, they never really, every time they say they're making something crazy, they actually don't push the limits of like being super fucking gross. Like this one doesn't have, I don't think it actually has actual like cheesecake in it.
Like no actual cream cheese and sour cream.
Yeah.
That's probably preferable.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure there's, the more Gloop Glop brewers will throw in a full Sara Lee, but that's not how O'Fallon rolls. So
yeah, they have more respect for themselves.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a little creamier, a little sweeter, and just a little bit of spice. And so it's fine. It's nice.
It's fine. It's fine. What do you got, Meg? Can I guess?
Go ahead. Try to.
Is it Bush Apple?
It's not. I mean,
is it
I do have
Icy Light?
Is it Hitchhiker with a cheesecake in it?
It's Hitchhiker.
It is Hitchhiker.
But what I found, I mean, I do have a sidecar Coors Light, so fuck off. Because you guys,
a little Colorado Kool-Aid.
Got that Colorado Kool-Aid. No, but I'm drinking Conversion from Hitchhiker, which is a dry hopped blonde ale, and it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
I have no other comments to say besides.
That sounds like something I would be drinking, and I feel like I'm drinking something Steve should be drinking. Someone brought this to the old Halloween party last night. I had a big old Halloween party at our house last night. It was an absolute blast, but I am very tired. But this is Firestone Walker's Mocha Dolce Nitro Stout.
Yeah, I like that.
It sounds bomb.
It is Nitro Stout.
Instantly excited because it's Firestone Walker. So it's not a Gloop Glop that Steve would get.
No, they do.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Steve would drink this. It's pretty damn sweet.
No, he would. But I feel like you haven't had one like from them ever. You go for like all these like hip Gloop Gloppers.
Not on the show.
Great Divides and that sort of stuff. Yeah, no, this is kind of in that same range. I mean, this is a vanilla, coffee, and cocoa nib nitro stout. Only 6% though, so it's not up on the par with Steve's normal Zoom juice, but it is 6%. And you know what? It's not bad. I wouldn't buy it. Like I said, someone purchased it, brought it to my home, and this is the first one I'm having of it, and it is quite sweet. A little too sweet for me, but it's perfectly serviceable. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to jumping into this one right after, which is I have a Cinderland's Danville Train Fest Beer style lager on deck to wash down the Gloop Glop here in a couple of dang seconds. But
that one's pretty
overall,
good too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I think I've definitely for sure picked up that Firestone at JR's in their mix of 6. So
it feels like a Steve beer, very much so. Yeah. Okay, let's get into the son of a bitchin' movie, guys. Again, we're going to talk about VHS 99. We did talk. When was it when VHS 94 came out?
That was probably about the exact same time.
It was about a year ago.
Yeah. And we all very much liked, if I recall, very much enjoyed VHS 94. I have come to really, really like the VHS franchise of anthology films. And I feel like they're getting better and better. That's just my spoiler.
Did you ever feel
it,
like there was a couple years, so like, I don't know if anyone took over for it, but I really enjoyed like the first 2. And then the following couple, I just felt like whoever was doing it, it's kind of like when things just go too extreme, but not in a good way. But then coming back with 94 was when I feel like I started kind of feeling like I'm like, okay, I can follow this. I'm like, I can be into this one. You know what I mean?
See,
And then,
I would agree with this because like, yeah, VHS and then VHS 2, which were 2012 and 2013. I enjoyed both of them. Not every single segment. But then VHS Viral, you know what? I don't know if I think I started watching it and turned it off. Not necessarily because I mean, I wasn't particularly interested in it, but it was more, I was just like tired and fell asleep or whatever. But then, yeah, 94 came back strong. Now here's 99, which, like I said, I really enjoyed. And then next year they're doing VHS 85.
Yeah.
So they're kind of bouncing around weirdly. 94, 99, then 85, which, again, I you know, like I said, I've kind of dug most of them, really. I should probably go back and watch VHS Viral. I remember VHS 2, which was the one that had like the... Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of a different anthology altogether that I was associating with VHS 92, or VHS 2. In any case, let me go ahead and kind of go down through really quickly because we'll go in chronological order, I would imagine, through the actual segments. Again, these are all anthology films, so they have little individual, like kind of short films, sequences, and typically they do have a fairly structured wraparound story that kind of is interstitched between the individual segments or short films. This one, I would say, was a little bit there. It's not like Body Bags, you know, where you have John Carpenter cracking jokes and doing like pseudo Crypt Keeper shit in between them. Like, it's more of like other found footage type of things happening, or it's a scenario where people are either being forced to watch or have somehow stumbled upon some disturbing found footage type content.
Yeah, they definitely took that a completely different direction. Completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, this one's more presented in the idea that we're watching just one singular tape all the way through. Yeah. Because there's so many other like things that seem to be like half erased, half recorded. I think you even
or taped over kind of thing. Yeah, it reminded me of one of my old like skate videos where we used to like, do a bunch of filming and then we would just like record over shit after we transferred it. So like the transfer would get worse and worse, and like eventually you just be like skating here, and then all of a sudden you'd see like one quick, 2 quick second clip of us like playing GoldenEye, you know what I mean? In the middle of the skate video, shit like that.
Yeah. Do you even see, I believe it's the Veggie Masher segment from VHS 94, like shows up in that clip as something that was taped over. So.
Right. Yeah. So you get this little...
I was almost like looking while I was watching like those in between segments, because it did feel a little odd that because I feel like even in 94 gave us an outlook. There was almost like this entire other scenario going on. Whereas this one, I was like trying to look for something within that. And I don't know if you guys even read about it or if there was something we missed. That was kind of what I walked away with. I'm like, or is it just really this like very random VHS that's someone creating a like live war scene?
It's one of those things where like some of the original ones, I don't think it was 94, but maybe like, was it... I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember the wraparound for 2, because I think 1 was just like a haunted house with a bunch of tapes in it.
Yeah.
And then Viral, I believe, was like somebody found like some Dodge Sprinter that had like a broadcast system of a bunch of tapes and shit inside of it.
Yeah. There was another one that was like, it was like 2 people, and maybe it was the first one. It was the first one, the one where it was like the people break into the house and they end up watching the tapes. And then the second one, I think, was the one where they were like some sort of military unit that were going in to find this like some sort of like criminal or serial killer or something. And then it ended up, spoiler alert, at the end, it was like 2 of the actual people within the unit.
That was 94.
Yeah, that
was 94. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the heck was 2. I think
2. The way it reads on IMDb, both 2 and 1 have kind of the same premise.
Same kind of wraparound. Okay.
Yeah, they both.
Yeah.
It's both people breaking into a house and then they find a bunch of tapes and then watch
Different
tapes.
set of people. Yeah, they were pretty inconsequential, the wraparounds, frankly. But this one has 5, count them, 5 segments here. And yeah, I guess if you guys are cool with it, we'll just kind of go through them, in chronological order. The first one is titled Shredding, and it is written and directed by Maggie Levin. And, I guess the high level kind of synopsis is these douchebag, kind of wannabe pop punk rock band consisting of 4 members. It's like the name is RAAC, which is an acronym for their names, which is Rachel, Anchor, Chris, and Caleb. And they're all shitheads except for Anchor. He's like, I mean, this. You see this, even though they're directed by different people, you see this across several of the segments. I think what they were trying to communicate is that the kids in 1999 doing it on their little like handy cams were a lot less media savvy and a lot less like self-aware in front of the camera than like people are nowadays. So they're just like being insufferable douchebags, but they're also showing them like saying a lot of sexist and homophobic things and stuff like that like, was way more commonplace in 1999. And I think they were trying to communicate that more, but it came across as like just very cartoonish almost, which I had no issues with. Like the thing about these movies, like they take themselves seriously. They're very earnest, but they're not like trying to be, elevated in any capacity.
No.
If I can make any comparison, just this past week, I was just finding random movies to watch, and I like finally watched like Jennifer's Body, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one I watched, but they all kind of came out around the same time, and like hearing just the way they wrote these scripts, but kind of exactly what we're talking about, where they're using language that today you're like, this is just cringy for me to be watching this right now, because this would never, ever fly right now. It's kind of weird. It was like, but I did also, I want to echo, like, I also appreciated like some of the way they did the shots, because this was the one where they had like some of even like the skateboarding stuff in the beginning, right?
Yeah, they had like or even it would just cut through. This reminded me of it a lot.
Yeah.
Like there'd be them talking, and then they would cut the scene, and then there would just be like a quick image of somebody like trying to do a really lame board slide or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. There was a couple of the segments there were skateboarding clips, but I mean, listen, in 1999 all I did was skateboard too, so
no, honestly, it put me in I think they did a great job in, to a certain extent, as much as like the behaviors of the characters themselves, like I think you hit on the nose, like feel like a character or a caricature of like people then, but it did put me in a time and place of like my teenage years of like having a bunch of friends who wanted to skateboard, and we had those, like, I think you called them handy cams. That was probably what they were called, the smaller ones, but that's like all we fucking did. Like, and I knew so many people who skateboarded into that. So I did think they did a good job, like setting the scene for what we were about to go into.
Yeah. It's definitely like a proto Jackass is what, because they're also shoving people into bushes with shopping carts and shit like that too. Yeah, so they are just
Jackass era of sorts.
Yeah, generally douchey, meant to be probably like 15, 16-year-old kids that are in a band, but they also are just like think they're really funny doing like fucked up pranks, and they just will not stop fucking with Anchor, I think is how you say his name. Anyway, they give him a lot of
hard on.
Anchor, yeah, that's it. But they also are like kind of shitty and racist to him too, because he's clearly of like Middle Eastern descent, and they say some shit to him about I forget exactly how they verbalize it, but they're saying like vaguely racist shit. He's like that friend that they all just kind of just pile on and just he's just kind of like a beaten animal that just kind of follows them around out of habit almost. But
yeah, because it doesn't make any sense as to why he's with them. Because they're at no time are they ever just nice to him.
No, they treat him like absolute dog shit. The whole time.
Usually when you set up group dynamics like this, there's like at least one person that's nice to the victim that keeps them coming around. But like it seems like from the jump, there seems to be no reason for him to be around or want to follow the rest of these kids into this underground, venue.
Yeah. He is. Again, it kind of communicated culture of a couple of decades ago where it was like, it was constantly, oh, we're going to fuck with this person. We're going to fuck with this person. And then if they get upset, it was like, we're just joking. You know what I mean? Whereas I think like kids now are a little bit more savvy about those like social dynamics where they're like, no, you guys are pieces of shit. Like, I feel like I'm sure there's plenty of instances where this still happens, but maybe I'm giving them too much credit. But I think kids nowadays are probably a little bit more self-aware where they probably wouldn't necessarily take this type of abuse in the same way, whereas back then I feel like it was a more commonplace. I don't know.
I think it's also just because there's other opportunities nowadays for like people to just disconnect from those groups because they can and
swerve into a different friend group or whatever,
or just go online and look for people online. Even though like it can be socially retreating, I think more people are just more willing to give that up and like, I'm gonna go hang out with my Call of Duty friends or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. These three, well, and Encore is trying to do this too, but it's like you can tell it's not him. It's the other three. They try to be this like kind of, like you said, jackassy kind of edgelord type of people, and they decide that they are going to break into this closed up, boarded up concert venue or club show venue called
Colony Underground.
Right. Where there was this up and coming band like several years before that was called Bitch Cat, which is a great band name, by the way.
Such a good band name.
Yeah. And they're like this kind of, I don't know, edgier, kind of No Doubt-ish type of band.
They're the Lunatics.
Yeah, I guess so. Where they're like trying to be like super edgy in a very like stereotypical 1999 type of way. But in any case, the story goes that they played in this venue. There was a fire, and then they were essentially like trampled to death by their own fans. And, multiple people died. Well, the band specifically are the ones who died. I think they actually said 4 people, which was 4 members in the band. Yeah. But they were trampled to death by their fans because of this fire that happened. So they, talked about how, like their boots are still melted to the floor in the venue and stuff. So they break in, they go in, and they just basically fuck with Encore the whole time. And like, they like set up stuff before they go in there, and then they lead him to believe, because he's the one who's kind of like scared to be there, and he brings these like this like bag of spices that are meant to like ward off what do they call it, the Buta, which I think we had talked about did we talk about that in a previous episode?
That I remember.
No, but okay. Yeah, this is kind of like it's like a like a supernatural creature type of thing from like specifically Bangladesh, I believe is where it comes from. But it's also like related to like the Arabic jinns, and it's kind of in that same realm. Usually the ghost of a deceased person, but it's more associated with the I guess he's Indian. Now that I think about, the name is obviously quite Indian. But this is kind of, think about the Middle Eastern or the Arabic jinns this is kind of, Jinn is to Arabic culture as Bhuta is to Indian culture, I guess is probably fair to say. Anyway, so he knows a little bit about it, and you could tell it's a little bit part of like his culture, and he's legit scared of it, and they just make fun of him the whole time. They fuck with him. They do all these practical jokes where they're acting like they're possessed while they're playing and freaking him out. He eventually gets super pissed.
Which I'm not going to lie, that was pretty good. I felt like that scene was perfect. I you know what I mean?
When they started playing and then they all started
and then they just, stopped.
Yeah.
I was like, it was pretty good. That's pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good fake out.
Yeah. But ultimately, not to spend too much time on this one, ultimately, the three, the three members after Encore bails and says, fuck you guys, I'm out. And he's like, I hope you guys get fucking killed. Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah. He's like, Buddha's going to come, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. They then do this, like, obviously very tasteless, almost ritual-ish type of thing where they have like blow-up dolls, like old style, like blow-up sex dolls, and they fill them with red jello, and they like, they're saying like, oh, let's see if we can actually see what would happen if we, trampled these dolls. Like, would it result in their
basically
death? Like, could this be real? Recreating the tragedy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're just being like super disrespectful and assholey and like all this shit. And as you might imagine, the three remaining asshole band members, one of them just gets, sucked up and then kind of torn limb from limb. And then, the chase is on through this like subterranean venue that they're in. And as you might imagine, it's the members of Bitch Cat, who are now these kind of like ghoul. I mean, I would describe them as ghouls.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like skeletonized, zombified, but also they have ghost powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
yep.
Yeah. It's pretty decent makeup, and it's a nice look. Mm-hmm. That they have.
Yeah, and the way they shoot it, it's very dark, so you never get like a super clear shot of them, even in the close-ups. But so this girl band, and you get like this little cut in the film, or on the hypothetical tape, that is like a promotional video that they made for Bitch Cat, in where they do all this like very stereotypical like 90s like rah type of stuff, badass punk band stuff, and they are kind of recreating it a little bit in the afterlife as these ghouls. So ultimately, as you might imagine, in several different kind of creative fashions, the band is dispatched, Rack is dispatched, and ultimately meet the same fate as Bitch Cat. And then you do get like a shot of them at the end, like all ghoulified, playing in their band too. So overall, I wouldn't say it's the strongest segment in my opinion, but it like of the, but it was fine. I liked it. All right. It was a decent start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's fun. I think just there feels like, and I think it's maybe across the entire collection on this version of VHS, is that they all kind of play out the same way of like set up, monster. With the exception of like the last one, which we'll get to. Everything else feels like very set up, monster, set up, monster. And like it doesn't I don't know. So it doesn't feel as creative as 94 because of that. I think
they all seem a little closer. It seemed like in 94 the individual segments were so radically different, and a few of them here almost could blend together. I would argue Ozzy's Dungeon is pretty unique and doesn't really have like a straight up monster at first, and you're just like, oh no, this is just this kind of fucked up thing, which we'll talk about, and then there ends up being a monster at the end, which you're like not expecting at all. So it kind of does the old like flip flop on you, gives you the old flim flam, but so Anyway, Shredding, like I said, fairly generic. It felt very that they were trying to really hammer home this whole idea of 1999. And I think this segment is the most 1999, maybe with the exception of Ozzy's Dungeon. So I feel like that's probably why it went first. Because if you went right in with the second one, which was called Suicide Bid, that had nothing particularly 99-ish about it.
Not really, with the exception of no cell phone, which is why she...
Right. No cell phone. Yeah, that's what makes all these stories. I mean, frankly, it just makes it a little bit easier to write some of these stories because, the technology was very different. But let's jump into the second one, unless you guys have anything to add to the first.
No, not really.
Does anybody want to talk about the second one, or you guys want me to go through and discuss it?
I see, and again, the second one, this one feels a lot like from 94. There was that little ghost story of the woman watching the casket in the funeral parlor.
Yes.
This one feels very similar to that, in that it's just like spooky things happening for a bit and then monster. And like, it's fine. It works. And I think the in the coffin scenes are the best because they're very claustrophobic, and I don't know. Have you ever?
Spiders were fucking terrifying. Jesus.
Have either of you seen the movie Buried with Ryan Reynolds?
No, have not.
It's a movie that's entirely within a casket.
I've heard of this movie, but I wouldn't consider myself super claustrophobic, but the idea of being buried alive is pretty horrifying.
Yeah, I think I would feel the same way as I felt like watching The Deep House, where there was just like this general anxiety going on the entire time.
Yeah, this is a little bit like, I don't mean it in a bad way. It's a little cornier. It's a little campier than that. But it's called Suicide Bid. It's written and directed by Johannes Roberts. And it's pretty easy to describe. So they set it up because there's two roommates that are both, rushing sororities at college. They're freshmen. One of them is basically saying like, no, I don't. Apparently what a suicide bid is, which I've never heard of this before, is when you only rush or you only bid, I guess, in one fraternity or sorority. So if that one doesn't accept you, then you don't get into any. So basically you put all your eggs in one basket. I don't know. I have not heard of that before, but that's apparently what that's called.
Brian, were you in a fraternity?
I was in a fraternity in college, but it was a nerd fraternity. We were all scholars, university scholars. And I went to Youngstown State, so we were the only fraternity that actually did anything because we were the only ones that had our shit together to do anything.
Because you were fucking nerds.
Because
we were a bunch of fucking nerds. Yeah. But most of what we did was play Halo, I would say. So these... these two, one of them is like a little bit more realistic, and one of them is like highly, her name's Lily, highly like desperate, and you almost think she's going to do something crazy. You know what I mean? Because she's like very intense, very extreme, like really trying to like communicate to them that like this means everything to her. These girls who are all for some reason like a foot taller than her, take her from this kind of like, it's the popular girl sorority, you're kind of meant to believe, like the like mean, shitty, hot girl sorority, where they take her out to a graveyard, actually to like a mausoleum kind of thing, and they lead her to believe that they want to let her into the sorority, but then they basically say this story about which I believe is a true story, or it has some sort of I just really quickly Googled it, and it did have like some sort of tie to like Lithuanian mythological figures, I guess. I don't know. I didn't jump too far into it. But it's Jiltine, I think was her name. Was that right?
It's a Lithuanian god is what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Just looking at the folk. It's definitely a folklore situation, so we could always.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously was not tied directly in any way.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's like super true. Yeah, it's definitely based on a folklore situation. So they did bring some sort of story into it that has existed for a long time within like religious connotations.
So it was supposed to be like 20 years earlier, and they basically put her in a coffin and bury her, and it's supposed to be this whole thing where they like are fucking with you and trying to get you scared to see if you'll do it or whatever. It's like this hazing thing. And then they left her there for like 2 weeks, I guess. Supposedly in the story, when they came back, she was gone, and they think she got like sucked down into hell, basically. Lily agrees to do this, and the one girl is like, oh, she's not going to leave you here long or whatever. But of course they bury her. She's kind of freaking out. They give her like a little chain to pull and, kind of pull the panic button, if you will. But they basically say, like, if you do that, you're not getting in. They also give her a box, like almost like a little, like jewelry box type of thing that's filled with giant spiders. Pretty fucked up thing to do. It starts to, she's freaking out. They're laughing. Like, they're just being very stereotypical, like 90s bad kids that are like, just like doing absolutely horribly fucked up things and think it's hilarious. Like, they're just like bullies in movies in the 90s. Like, there was no ambiguity. There was no, oh, they come from a tough background. It was, these children are pure evil. Like that's kind of how it was back then, I think. And they did do a good job of communicating that. But they're just laughing at her. It starts to rain. The cops show up simultaneously. They run and they're like, we'll come back for her. And then, because you're like, well, what's going to happen? Something supernatural is going to happen here, right? And then the grave just starts flooding, and all of a sudden, water starts coming into her coffin. She's panicking, she's choking on water and stuff. And then it's like, oh no, it's just this like super claustrophobic. You're drowning in a buried coffin, which is about the most fucked up, like horrifying end I can imagine. Unless it was like drowning in caramel or something like that. That would be the only thing that'd be worse. But it's like just slow and agonizing, and she's panicking forever. And you think, okay, she's going to die. And then, maybe she'll come back and haunt them or whatever. No, a goddamn demon comes up and there's also like a transparent, like a little bit like a pane glass in the coffin in like the shape of a cross, which I was like, that's some pretty good craftsmanship for like a sorority prank prop.
Right.
But it does pay off, which I should have saw coming, because you get this scene of this, like what looks like a pretty cool practical demon with like a mask. I think later maybe there might be some CGI kind of stuff like at least laid over it, but it's a pretty cool scene. As you might imagine, they come back in the morning. One thing I thought was really odd, the graves flooded, and two of them just very willingly just dive into the muddy, water-filled grave.
Yeah. Didn't take off your, varsity jacket.
Yeah, didn't even take off the Letterman jacket. I was like, what? Okay, if you had to do that and you were panicking, you're like, oh my God, there might be somebody down there I have to save. Sure, but like, take off your jacket, right? Before you go in there. How long does it take to take off your jacket?
And that's how you know. Well, one, that might not have even been her jacket. Could have been like her boyfriend's, and it just disrespects his stuff. Because she's already proved herself a mean girl.
Yeah, that's true.
But, that's the other way it's 1999, because nobody jumps in the water anymore without taking their cell phone out of their pockets. So
that's true too. I thought about that. I was like, didn't do anything, just jumped in. I was like, oh, well then she doesn't really have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
And that was back when it was fun to push people into pools, and it was funny, and nobody got mad.
It's not fun to do that anymore, Brian.
No, now you ruin somebody's phone. I mean, I push my kids in the pool, but they don't have phones. And they can't swim, so it's hilarious.
You can't have phones because I need to throw you in the pool.
Plus, you can't swim, you fucking dork.
I think like that cross on it gave a good impression, because it was clearly illusion, because they were fucking with her that entire time with the sticks and stuff, but they were able to put just enough like dirt just to cover that, and the illusion is now created and stuff like that.
That's true. Okay, that makes more sense why they would put that there.
but also that creature or whatever we want to call it, was a guillotine is what we're calling this thing. I was trying, I don't know, did that thing remind you of someone? I don't know if I loved the would it be practical effects for that creature character?
It was
just felt
very
so
weird
awkward.
looking. It reminded me a little bit of Tarman.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like the way
But it
his
also
jaw
didn't
moved.
really move. Yeah, it was so it wasn't very like mechanical like what you would probably see today. Granted, we're trying to talk about 99, but
yeah.
It just like felt like it was very stiff.
Yeah, and like the way its head moved was weird.
It like put its face up against her face, and you're like, this is just weird and awkward. Why don't you just like bite her or like, I don't know.
The
jaw
it was like
didn't
Terrence
move.
and Phillip almost.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? How it's like head kind of like just.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Oh,
buddy, I'm
so
not
what
your
you're
guy,
saying
pal.
is guillotine is Canadian. Is what you're
Not
saying.
Lithuanian. It's Canadian. I always get those two mixed up. Lithuania and Canada. Yeah, they're like, he gets up in her face and is like, she's like screaming. He's like, I'm not your buddy, pal.
Hey, guy.
Hey, guy. But I don't know. I kind of, yes, I totally get what you're saying. It didn't seem realistic, but I don't know. It struck me as cool. I don't know why. It had like big eyes. It was kind of a cool design, but anyway, I didn't see it coming because I'm just like, oh no, she's just going to drown, and then maybe she's gonna come back as a damn demon and fuck with them or a ghost or something. But I did not expect another one to come out, and she does.
Right.
So jumping forward, they just go, fuck you, we're never talking about this again, we don't know what happened, let's go on with our lives. And then they all wake up in coffins buried underground. One of the girls has Lily, now demon Lily, in the coffin with her, as well as Guillotine in there with her, with a big old spider coming out of her mouth. So, yeah, it's it was good.
Maybe it was possible like that whole mask / headpiece was designed so it could hold the spider in the mouth.
Yeah, because it didn't look like what Lily ended up looking like.
Right. So like they just designed that whole thing so it could hold the spider in the mouth without the actor having to like hold the spider in any way or have the spider like really be in their mouth. And they're just like,
yeah, that would be an extra fee. That would be for sure an extra fee.
Well, because that point almost looks CGI-ish. Yeah, it felt like even that last little jump scare scene of the spider in the mouth almost looked like it might have been CGI.
See, I didn't think it was. I thought it
really.
Yeah.
I have to go back and watch.
I thought it was really a big fat buddy just hanging in that thing's mouth.
Well, the thing too about it was that it didn't look human.
No,
like Guillotine didn't look human at all, whereas Lily obviously looked like a corpse, you know what I mean? After she, after she came back and was tormenting them. So it was interesting. Like I said, didn't dislike it or anything, but it was just like some unique decisions I feel like were made.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, and I might be wrong about this, but I think for the most part, a lot of these shorts shared the same special effects team.
I could see that.
Which is why a lot of the effects kind of seem the same.
Let's get to the third one, which I think was my favorite because it was so batshit. And that's what I've come to really like and appreciate about the VHS franchise is, we've talked about this before, as a jaded horror fan that watches a ton of horror movies, it becomes very easy after a while to identify the formulas and like kind of speculate what's coming next and that sort of thing. And I feel like with a lot of the VHS segments, I don't know what's going to happen next, which I very much appreciate. But it also doesn't, like, the stories are big, bold, wacky swings. Yeah. But they take themselves seriously. Like, it doesn't feel tongue in cheek necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. In this one coming up is very much like it's directed by Flying Lotus, who is more known as a music producer. Yeah, but he has another feature film under his belt, which I've seen, called Kuso.
Yeah.
And it is so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's a cool film, though.
Yeah.
I really, and I was going to say, I was like, where do I know that name from? And it was because I saw Kuso. And then I remember after I saw it looking, for something else from him. I'm like, I don't think this guy's done anything else.
Yeah, he's done very little. I don't want to say nothing, but like there's like kind of the character of Captain Murphy that he created. And then there is I guess it's an anime series that he wrote, which I think it's Yasuke, I believe it's called. So it's not even it's not even horror. It's a completely separate thing.
Yeah,
but
let me see. And then he's a music producer and composer. Like a lot of his credits are film scores.
Right. And then he just does his own music, he performs as Flying Lotus, but he just started getting into doing film stuff and
and he's done like a bunch of his own music videos, it looks like. Oh, that's the other thing I knew him from is the Boondocks.
Okay. Yeah.
He is what is his credits?
He's a composer on the Boondocks.
Okay, he did the music for it, but I feel like he was maybe he was maybe he had a producing credit too or something like that. I have to go look, but I think that was the other thing. I remember when I was looking him up, I was like, oh, okay, he was involved because I love the Boondocks too. But anyway, this one is my favorite one, personally, of the five here. I'll try not to go too deep into it, but I would start out by saying starts out as a parody, like a very over-the-top cartoonish parody of a cross between Double Dare and Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah, the two Nickelodeon game shows, which were two of my favorites. Of course, Double Dare with Mark Summers, was had to do a bunch of like gross things. You were constantly being slimed and having to like crawl inside like a big fake nose and pull flags out of the boogers and stuff like that.
I always wanted to be on that show when I was a kid.
I wanted to be on Legend of the Hidden Temple because it just looked so sick to be like jumping around through it. It was like a haunted house almost. It wasn't explicitly that. It was like this. It kind of felt like this. Not Mayan, kind of a Mayan thing, but it was more. It was maybe like maybe more like Amazonian type of thing.
It was just kind of a mishmash for kids. Yeah, because what is it? Olmec.
Olmec.
Yeah, the big giant head. I believe that is maybe Aztec or Mayan. Okay. So, but I think it's just kind of like a big mishmash of.
Of cultural appropriation.
Of cultural appropriation for children. Like, I don't know if anybody worshipped a silver monkey, so.
But so the team names, they would have two people in the team, and then they would get slowly eliminated. Then we'd get down to the end team that, kind of like Guts, where you got to, try to climb the aggro crag and claim your radical piece, your piece of the, what was it? Your piece of the glowing radical rock. But in this instance, you had to go through this big like temple type situation where you didn't know where you were going, but the crowd knew where you were going, and then you would get like grabbed up by these like kind of like almost tribes,
temple guards.
Temple guards, is what they called them, and then you were fucked, right? In any case, this was kind of a mashup of those two things, except for the host is kind of slightly sadistic, or at the very least, like, I guess, uncaring, I would say.
This really feels like it was a public access version of this going on. And so the host, he's played by Stephen Ogg, which you
would know right away.
Yeah, most people will recognize him, I think, by now from The Walking Dead. But he was also like really famous as like Trevor from GTA 5. That's where like he got really famous. But
if you see this character like that he voiced and his appearance was modeled after, he is like one of the most memorable characters from Grand Theft Auto. But the whole series, really.
In this one, he feels like he's playing Sleazy E from Gwar.
Yeah, that mixed with like one of the characters from the Righteous Gemstones or something. Like, it mixed with Mark Summers. Yeah, it's very weird.
Sleazy P Martini. My bad, not Sleazy E. I was thinking Easy E. Brain.
Okay, I was getting those two confused.
Yeah, but it feels like he's playing Sleazy P, and just like he's just watching kids get injured and like ignoring it and letting them, and like the games are all trash too. It's just like run into each other with these balloons. Now fucking climb into this wading pool. Like it's not, they're not, it's the production is not on the level of Nickelodeon.
I honestly just think the scenario where they had to catch the meat in their mouth was just insanely entertaining the whole time.
They're just throwing turkey leg. He calls them something else. He doesn't call them turkey legs. He calls them something goofy.
And it was like, felt like it was like really inappropriate the way he said it too, because I feel like the
whole thing was like vaguely sexual.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like catch this meat or like catch my meat. So that's what it like literally, if it was called that, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he kept making like a bunch of inappropriate jokes, and the whole thing was just this like cash grab that was meant to like, just fuck contestants. And they got these people and basically said, if you go through this maze successfully, whatever, then you also, he's like vaguely racist, and he's just like a piece of shit. And they're just basically like victimizing and exploiting these kids contestants. And the contestant here that you're rooting for, her name is Donna. And Donna's family are from Detroit, and he's like very patronizing with them and stuff like that. And then they have
Donna from Detroit as what's his name from Misfits?
Oh, from Glenn Danzig.
Yeah, Glenn Danzig.
All right, I gotta think about this. Glenn Danzig. Donna from Detroit. I'm Glenn Danzig.
Hey, it's me, Glenn Danzig.
Oh, that's the phrase. Yeah. Hey, it's me, Glenn Danzig. Anyway, I was doing that a lot last night. You guys weren't there, but I was, as we discussed, I was Garf Danzig, a cross mashup between Garfield and Glenn Danzig from Halloween Party, and I was saying a lot of things like that, and nobody else got it. The Gabagool himself, and they were like, "Shut, Brian. We don't listen to your podcast." That's basically what it is.
This costume is from me.
Yeah. One person did. A couple people were like, "Oh, okay, sure, yeah." Well, because I had the face paint and the devil lock, so it was like I felt like it came across. But of course, Garf Danzig. That's the I get it. You're nice.
Next year, can you be Garf Brooks?
Jesus.
I would love to. Thank you for the invitation.
I got friends in low places.
But you still talk like Danzig. Yeah. And also, I'm not Garf Danzig, or I'm not Garf Brooks. I'm like Garf Brooks, but I'm the Chris Gaines version.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, is Garth Brooks' sexy alter ego. Oh man, no, there's nothing I love more than Chris Gaines. Anyway, Donna is, her family's there. Like they said, they're kind of like this family from like, African American family from like, inner city Detroit, and then you have this like super white kid that's competing against him, and he's clearly like rooting for the white kid to win and all this stuff. Anyway, as they're competing, Donna gets this like horrific compound fracture in her leg, where her leg just like.
Is that what we're gonna say?
Yeah.
Is that what we're gonna call it?
Yeah, that's medically what it's called. It's a compound fracture when the bone comes out.
The bone literally pops out of her skin.
I just wanted something way more graphic to be said instead of something way more clinical here, guys.
Yes. So it like her leg snaps in the opposite direction, bone shards shooting out, blood everywhere.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. And the whole crowd is like barfing, and everyone's like, oh god, like the crew's freaking out, and they're just like, fuck you, signed a waiver, and he's just like acting like it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, fast forward NBD, fast forward a few years, I want to say, isn't it like 3 or 4 years later or something like that?
Yeah.
The family, specifically the mother, who has a very like visceral reaction to everything and is like trying to attack him on set, the mother has become unhinged after this whole scenario, has passed years later. The daughter is in a wheelchair. She's obviously a little bit older now. She's got her son there and her husband. They have captured the host and put him in a dog crate in their basement. And she's very unhinged. She immediately takes her shirt off and spends the whole rest of the segment in her bra. And she's just like, she's like rules the family with an iron fist type of thing, but basically sets up this whole recreation of the game show in their basement, but with all these torturous, disgusting scenarios. The first thing they do is just have the son have basically a bike helmet with a bunch of sharp like implements on it and just run into his stomach with it. It's like not a game at all.
No.
So he just gets a bunch of stab wounds in his abdomen.
This one's called Stabby.
Yeah. It's not a game at all.
Yeah, because he's tied to the pole in the basement, so like he has nowhere to go.
Yeah, he didn't get to run back towards them. I mean, there wasn't. There
was no game.
Yeah,
there was no game.
Yeah,
it actually, in a way, it was a game.
Yeah, I mean,
it's called the game of life, Brian.
It's the game of School of Hard Knocks.
It's the game of fuck around and find out.
That's true. But yeah, so they're just fucking with this guy. They make him do the thing where they catch the turkey legs in their mouth, except for it's rotten chicken breasts.
Yeah.
Which is pretty gross. And he's like vomiting.
Just get slapped with raw chicken. Yeah. Great.
It's pretty yucky. And then they make him do the whole obstacle course. And she has this, what looks like a handle, like an old liquor half-gallon, liquor handle you would see like Captain Morgan in or something. But she's got some like incredibly corrosive acid in it that she's going to dump on him. If he can't get through the whole thing in a certain amount of time, he's got to do this whole fucked up, gross obstacle course. And then ultimately, her whole thing is like, there was never a chance for her to win. It was rigged against her, blah, blah, blah. So he finishes, I guess, on time or almost on time. And she says, no, like, fuck you, you lost. He says, so the whole thing in the story is whoever wins, the contestant, they get whatever one wish they want to come true. Now, I missed this and I didn't take it down in my notes. What does he promise to take them to?
He promises to take them back to the dungeon, like, because it's called Ozzy's Dungeon.
Right.
Kind of Legends of the Hidden Temple, again, the parallel in that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he says, I'll take you where you can get your wish.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, because I was like, is that all it was? Like, they're still down to...
It was all about the wish, yeah.
It was a whole revenge plot for years, though, that she had. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it doesn't... This whole thing gets...
You know what it almost felt like? It was like they were less worried or upset about the leg and more upset that she didn't win.
She wasn't famous. And yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
You're right, because they did say that, because at one point they pick up, like, have her pick up like her, like, she's got something over her leg while she's in the wheelchair, and her leg's all like gangrenous and gross looking. And
I was trying to understand that, because it almost looked like her leg was like burnt back together.
Right.
What would a human soldering situation look like? Her leg is actually the answer.
Yeah,
I took it as the mom went crazy and never got her proper medical care. Mm-hmm. So her leg like never healed properly. We live in
America and they live in Detroit. Let's be real.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
No one had health insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. I get the feeling that's what happened.
Yeah. And also I just think it's kind of like a stylistic thing that, Flying Lotus would be doing. Because like again, back to Kuso, there's a lot of elements in that film that are just like, they ride the line of being just slightly off from reality. There's a lot of other things that are way, way off. There's like, so like the setup has that weird ominousness about it where like kids are getting injured very badly, but also there's still all the flashing color lights and everything. So like, I think he does like stylistic choices to better drive points home. And I think, with Donna's leg being all fucking crazy and goofed up, You know,
Yeah.
it's a far larger play on just like, yeah, she got hurt and like things didn't go her way.
Yeah.
A weird joke that just like popped in my mind that would have been great for them to have made is like some sort of new boot goofing if she had to have some sort of special shoes like made.
Goofing.
Special shows.
New Boot Goofin. I remember you introducing us to New Boot Goofin at one point. Because that's Reno 911,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Yeah.
Arena 911,
Yeah, you made that reference at one point, and I was like, "What the fuck?" You just slipped it into conversation like it was totally normal, and I was like, "You're like from Reno 911," and I was like, "Oh, okay, gotcha." Anyway, New Boot Goofin. Yeah, so her legs all fucked up, and she's basically like, "Guys, you know, you could tell she's like, this is not her idea. This is the mom driving the whole thing. And the mom is like, she was our way out. She was our golden child. And you fucked up our chance. So it's more about them getting out of poverty and all this stuff and less about the daughter. So you're slowly starting to realize that. Anyway, he says, no, I'll take you to the temple. You can get your wish. So they go to the studio, the TV studio, which the show has long been canceled. He's not like really supposedly affiliated with it anymore, but they get there and the whole building is like super well guarded. They go around back, they go in, and the temple set is still there and is like some sort of real, like almost prehistoric looking, like pagan temple of sorts.
Yeah. My favorite part about this was they introduce her in the opening. She's like a sidekick American Gladiator type. And so you just think she's dressed up for, the show, that she's like a temple guard or American Gladiator, but then they show back up.
She looks like she's from like Conan the Barbarian or something.
Yeah. And they show back up and she's still in the exact same costume, and it's like, oh, she just lives there like that.
That's her life. That's literally what she does. She is an actual temple guard. Yeah. But so they go in and there's like kid contestants there, like worshiping. And basically there's this room with this, like, I couldn't tell if it's a man or a woman or whatever, but this big, giant, like super distended body of this person that looks like they're almost like pregnant maybe or something like that. But maybe, I don't know, but they're like abdomen is all distended. They're laying on this bed and people are like worshiping. And the whole idea is, you have to go tell them your wish. And the host, he's like, I've never been in here. Like, I've never strayed past the front gates kind of thing. And now they're on this like weird vision quest, and things went from this like gritty, Saw type revenge thing that's happening in the basement to now this weird supernatural temple they're in. And the abdomen of this person on the table opens up a la The Thing when they're giving him the paddles and the hands get bit off, but instead this big, like, glowing primordial, like Lovecraftian type of,
it's a good description,
creature pops out of this person's abdomen, and after she whispers the wish in the person on the table's ear, and is vibrating and glowing and flashing, and all this wildness is happening. And then all of the family members, except for the daughter's, faces start to melt. And then you just get a quick, like, cut freeze frame on the daughter smiling.
Yeah.
Like, so basically she was like, fuck, my one wish now at this point is to melt my family's faces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Melts her family's faces, melts the host's face.
Everyone's face melts.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I felt like that was like then. So it's like a revenge within a revenge type situation.
Yeah, because
but I didn't
it's
fully
like
understand like what else was going on besides like maybe Donna didn't really like her mom.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what
don't we all wish we could do that sometimes? Maybe.
Yeah, I think the whole thing seems to me of like, okay, this thing happened that derailed their whole lives because they seem to be like a normal, happy family before this happened. Family. They were a normal, happy family before this happened. And then the mom went crazy after the appearance on the show and the leg injury and all this stuff. And then she became obsessed and self-absorbed and mistreated her. And the rest of the family was like terrified of her. And the mom became this monster. And the dad and the brother were very much there, like, not antagonizing her, but like enabling her insanity.
Oh yeah, like the father and the brother just like they can't stand up to her.
Right. And the daughter, and Donna's in a wheelchair, and she's just kind of along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So she had over the years assumedly developed all this animosity towards the family, and then when it came back down to it, the wish that she thought that they would make, which is like to, give them, money and success and all this stuff, was just like, no, fuck these people. I'm going to melt their faces off.
Yeah.
These people who fucked up my life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like from scene to scene, I had no fucking idea what was going to happen next. And it went from weird, surreal, like nostalgia bomb kind of game show to like gritty torture revenge porn to crazy Lovecraftian old god monsters, what I mean? So this one was fucking a blast.
Had it all.
It really did. Checked all the boxes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the next one. So I guess we didn't, because it changes all of a sudden right before or after this one, but we could probably set it up, is the wraparound during this one is like basically this, stop motion, a little like kid movie that somebody's making, like somebody, you would imagine a 13 or 14-year-old to make, where it's like army men and, and all this kind of silliness happening and like violence and jokes and stuff like that in this little stop motion thing. And that's really all that's happening in the wraparound at this point. I think right before this or after this is when it kind of switches up, right? Mm-hmm. The Gawkers, I guess this is probably this is it bleeds into this one, this is where they switch it up, because like that whole army man segment that we've been watching of just like this stop motion short film, which is nice, and it has a little RAATMA come in at one point. Oh, I missed it. Yeah. RAATMA runs in and eats one of the soldiers. That was RAATMA. Yeah. And then he's like, guys, he's like, oh, he's dead. Let's try not to get eaten by the giant rat next time or something like that. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, then his brother comes and steals his camera and says, hey, we're going to spy on the neighbor, because the neighbor is hot. And so
she is a hottie bodottie.
Yeah, so then the whole thing is like, okay, so it bleeds off, this spins off of what has been the wraparound up to this point, and the younger brother has apparently some sort of relationship, or at least some sort of not like a romantic relationship, but more like the girl next door that they're all creeping on, very, very like not in an innocent way, in a like, we are literal peeping toms. Mm-hmm. And I think the whole idea here, the subtext is like, back in the 90s, that was a funny thing that movies did. We're like, oh, let's try to look through the window of the girl next door and see her undress, going way back to, Animal House and stuff like that. It's like, that was common in movies, and that was kind of like, well, boys will be boys, and it is entirely fucked up. Yeah. So I think that is, what they were trying to communicate here a little bit. And the younger brother who was making the movie, that was the wraparound, he is the only one that has like a conscience and knows what he's doing is fucked up and abusive and all this stuff. But he is seduced by the older kids saying, now you're cool if you do this, basically. Yeah. Specifically his older brother and their friends.
We'll stop bullying you if we can see some boobs.
We'll stop making your life horrible if you, essentially become a peeping Tom,
The things people
criminal
will
with
do
us.
for boobs, guys. You know.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I
Go
used
to the end of the world.
I used to steal porno mags and put them down my sweatpants legs, and and walk out of the store with them, and then cut out the pictures.
How do you get out of there with sweatpants? Like, you can there's no just like hiding that.
Oh yeah,
we have gray sweatpants season as like kind of a joke for a reason. You can't.
I used to steal them.
There.
I used to steal. I mean, I'd fit 2 porno mags and a tech deck in my sweatpants and walk right out of there. So I was a bad kid, So anyway, yeah,
badass kid,
yeah,
Brian.
I mean, I was a bad motherfucker. Like that's what, like I was the shaft of 14-year-old kids. No, he yeah, listen, I get it. When you're 14, you'll do a lot for porno. But being a peeping Tom is probably a couple steps too far. But that's what they're attempting to do here, and so much so that they convince the younger brother, who apparently has some sort of rapport with the girl next door, that he can get into her house and set up some sort of spyware type thing on her personal computer, so that they can basically see through her, webcam on her computer, which, let me be very clear, guys, webcams did not have that type of resolution in 1999. But in any case, they do, of course, catch, her undressing on the webcam.
Don't overshadow too the type of computer that she bought too. Like those OG huge ass Macs that were gorgeous, which a sidebar thing is, like, somehow recently on my social medias, there are people who are refurbishing those type of Apple like laptops as like iPod holders or iPad holders.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That seems, I guess that's the equivalent of like buying a record player or something like that. I don't know.
But something like that.
I mean, literally, whatever this thing has definitely had like a sick ass Pentium 2 processor in it.
For sure.
And probably came in a box that looked like it had a cow print on it. It was sick. Anyway, they everyone who's in their 20s has no fucking idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, they got in there, so again, they're watching her undress, again, creeping out. The younger brother, not feeling good about the whole thing, obviously, but he is still, going along with it. And then the thing you don't think is going to happen happens, which is she a dang Medusa. What the fuck?
Yeah.
She's a motherfucking Medusa, guys.
Yeah. I did not see that coming.
I actually did.
How? Explain to me how you knew it was going to be a dang Medusa.
Because there's just a one quick hint that they're looking at her through the driveway, and she has 2 frozen statue heads in her driveway that are like
I didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's like lawn ornaments. And like
well, they point them out too. Now that you mention it, I feel like they point out how weird. Like, don't they point out how weird they are?
Yeah.
Or
I missed that.
Yeah. Okay.
I missed that.
Yeah, they point out how weird it is, and it's like
clicking now.
Why would you show that if it wasn't some sort of monster? What kind of monster makes fucking statues? Oh, Medusers do. So
yeah, damn Medusers.
Medusers.
Yeah. She's a seducer / Meduser.
Well. So I guess they're the I guess genre of a creature that Medusa would fall into, because Medusa was a specific.
That's her name.
One of these, that was her name in Greek mythology, is a gorgon. Which is a creature from Greek mythology. And, among other things, gorgons have goddamn snakes for hair.
Yeah.
So when you see that classic trope, I remember seeing it in freaking Tiny Toon Adventures when I was little. They had in the one Halloween episode, they had a Medusa, woman with the snake hair. And the whole idea is if she looks at you, you turn to stone. Yeah. So they're looking at her on the webcam. She pops out her boobies. Then they're like, oh, what the fuck is happening? Hair turns into snakes. You see that she sees them through the window across the street. Boom. She smashes through the door or through the window. She tears the fuck out of the one brother.
Kool-Aid Man's, dude. Pretty much.
Yeah, she Kool-Aid Man's it with damn snake hairs. And fucks up the one brother, just kind of tears him limb from limb type situation. And then ultimately they bail out of the room. She is like, follows them down the stairs, topless, snake hair, turns him into some bitch in stone.
Yep.
So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But like I said, didn't see a dang Medusa coming out of that one. So I like the twist, because when I was starting it and maybe I was not observant enough, there was no way my brain was going to a damn Medusa.
I mean, I picked it up, but I was excited because I was like, you hardly ever see a Medusa. So,
yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
It's always a damn Dracula.
Yeah.
Or it's a goddamn ghoul, or
it's a Dracula, or a
Frankenstein's. It's always a Frankenstein's or a Dracula, never a Medusa, which I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
More Medusas.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have more Medusa stories.
Yeah.
I think I would appreciate it. I feel like it's also a good female empowerment. That's what we need to have, is a good Medusa.
Well, if you really
remake.
think about like that shitty, actually it wasn't that shitty. That Tom Cruise is shitty because he's a cult leader. But he in that Mummy movie, which was really more of an action movie than a monster movie, I mean, the villain, she's more of a dang Gorgon than she is a mummy. If you think about it.
I didn't see it, so I don't know.
I didn't either.
Well, she's like, she's not really she's not, when I think mummy, I think the old, Universal, 1930 whatever mummy, with Boris Karloff in it, and the shambling mummy with the wraps and all that stuff. She's like a goddamn ninja vampire Medusa mummy. But she doesn't turn anybody to stone, as far as I remember.
I prefer my mummies from the 99.
Yeah,
where they were a big sandstorm.
And I prefer me some Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
walking around if I could.
And Kelly Hu, who
prefer that
as well.
Maybe even a Scorpion King or two.
Yeah.
I don't care. So this guy's again a nice little left field swing, which I did appreciate. So
yeah.
Any final thoughts on that one?
No, I think it served its purpose as kind of a wraparound. I just like the the references to establish that, people are aware of things that happened in 94, with the kid knitting his own little RAATMA. So he's like,
that too.
He's like aware of like, that tape is out there somewhere and people have seen it. So
yeah, the universe is, it's out there.
The veggie masher is real. So
yeah. The next one is actually the second one where we get a reference to Y2K, but this instance you get a, the whole thing is about this, basically this demonic cult on New Year's Eve 1999 that is going to summon their kind of demon lord, Ukabon. Ukabon.
Before we jump in, because I know I think we probably talked about it off air last week, but Steve recommended we watch Deadstream, and the same people who did that did this one.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. The same, it's the same actors. It's the same actors too.
Joseph Winter, yeah, because Joseph Winter was the star, which that was a really fun movie.
Yeah,
it was. I'm
Deadstream.
excited. We definitely I need to watch that or talk about it. But yeah. I looked at my phone and I looked up and I'm like, I just watched these characters.
Right.
Yeah.
But anywho.
Yeah, Joseph Winter. I didn't even make the connection. Yeah, he wrote, directed, and starred in Deadstream.
Yeah.
Which was such a wild, weird movie.
Yeah, it's him and his wife Vanessa. They're kind of like.
I didn't realize that was his wife too.
Well,
okay.
no. Him and his wife Vanessa, they do the writing and the directing, but the actress Melanie Stone is also in both Deadstream and this.
Oh, okay. So she was the little like demon that they run into. Okay, yeah. Now that makes
Mabel the skull biter.
She does look like
Mabel,
his wife a tiny bit, just a tiny bit.
I didn't even notice the connection, but yeah, she did look familiar. But that makes a lot more sense. She was a great character in this.
Yeah,
This is probably my second favorite one. This one is just a big old swing too.
Honestly, this might be my favorite, but I could be biased just from watching Deadstream. Like, and I just had so much fun watching that.
Same.
That I like saw this and I was just like, I think this one is my favorite.
Yeah, and the one guy, and I don't know, their names were Nate and Tony, and I don't remember which is which, but
Troy is Joseph Winter, and then Nate is the other guy.
Gotcha. And Nate reminded me of Guillermo from
a bit, yeah,
from in the what we do in the shadows. Yeah. But anyway,
also just one more thing before we move on, because I think you'll appreciate this, Brian. So we're talking about Melanie Stone, who plays Mabel in this, but also Chrissy in Deadstream, and her credit right before Chrissy in Deadstream is Ruby in a little Hallmark film called Cupid for Christmas.
I like it. I like it.
Are we going to cover that now? We'll be like
Cupid for Christmas. I love that. That's such a perfect Hallmark title.
Oh my God.
They're already playing the Hallmark Christmas movies, by the way. We're currently in the heart of the countdown to Christmas on Hallmark channel.
Countdown to the countdown.
Yeah. Because the countdown to Christmas starts on November 1st. The countdown to Christmas starts, I think, August 1st. But anyway, they're wilding out over there on the Hallmark channel. No, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so you have this like coven of witches and warlocks and whatever, these kind of people who worship this particular demon, and they believe that, this once in a millennia scenario, midnight on or on the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve 1999, they are going to summon this demon because the old adage, the veil is the thinnest at this time or whatever. Okay, so Nate and Troy are videographers that are there to document the whole thing, but they're very skeptical, one is more kind of skeptical than the other. But in any case, when they start to do the ritual, they have this woman who is part of this coven or cult or whatever, who is she's going to be the vessel for Ukaban, this demon. So they have her strapped to a table and the whole thing. When they open up this portal or whatever, a different demon tries to come through and accidentally through this kind of comedy of errors, which is really what this last segment is. It's kind of this over-the-top comedy of errors. Nate and Troy get sucked into the demon realm or hell or the underworld or whatever. So they land down there, but they don't know if it's real. They don't know what's happening. But ultimately, they get dragged back in, and they come to terms with the fact that they're in this demon realm pretty quickly. And they start seeing all this fucked up stuff. First of all, there's like booby traps everywhere, like giant bear traps and like punji pits and of course all these like fucked up demons with weird little, like there's all kind of cool practical effects in here that kind of remind me of like a cross between Society and like The Brood or something like that. They're just like all these wacky ass little creatures.
There's a bunch of wacky creatures, a bunch of wacky set dressing. Like they're always running into like different piles of guts and things like that.
There's always just gore everywhere. And they look like they're in some like out in New Mexico on like some like crazy, craggy caverns and windblown rocks and all these like stalagmites everywhere and shit. It's just like this very alien landscape. So wherever they shot this is a great location for this because it's all shot at night. So everything is like night vision-y and it just feels very surreal and like almost like Silent Hill, but out in like New Mexico somewhere because you can never see very far beyond where they're standing.
Because everything's guided basically by one light which is like the light on the camera, and then the occasional red lightning flash that lights up the entire sky.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see in the distance these giant like hellscapes and again like Lovecraftian giant old god demon things like on the horizon and stuff.
Just a big old Satan.
Just a big old dang devil up there. They do cross Mabel, who is, is she a demon, or she calls herself Mabel the Skullbiter? Is that what it is? Yeah.
The thing I got from this character was like, I think she's been like condemned to hell for a while, obviously, because she's like, she recognizes Troy and Nate as like fresh meat, and she's like, but she also has this desire to get out of hell, and she wants to make a name for herself. But like, she's also like very cowardly, because like at one point Satan's yelling at her and she runs away, and like, so like she wants to be more than what she is.
It's so funny.
She's this little like
so
almost like
Gollum
Smeagol-y type of guy.
That's a good comparison. Yes.
But then she's also like very like self-aggrandizing too.
Yeah.
It's very weird. She's very, she's obviously funny, and she's got these like crazy yellow teeth and shit. But so basically
I cannot give that actor so much more credit. Like, I feel like, again, seeing her in this character than watching her in Deadstream, like just extreme and just like immersive is the word I'm looking for. Like, into a character.
They're both pretty gross, but also very like funny. So like,
yeah.
And she speaks, which is part of the levity here, is that she speaks in this almost like old Victorian way of talking. And so there's like all these like kind of this like communication breakdowns happening.
Why are thou screaming?
Why are thou screaming like cowards? But they basically figure out this plan of like, if they can get to, she knows where Ukaban resides in this cave, and she's going to take them to him, and if they can within a certain amount of minutes, I don't remember what the timing, it's this ticking clock type of thing.
They're trying to get there before midnight though.
Before midnight. Okay. Yeah. So it's like before the actual, because I was thinking they got sucked down at midnight, but no, they did not. They got sucked down when they were just trying to like loosen the veil or whatever.
Yeah, and some just little guy comes out and
and fucks the whole thing up.
Which is like, and like obviously it's funny because like the witches recognize this character that came out and dragged him down.
Oh, they know who he is. Like, they're like, get out of here, you fucker.
That motherfucker again.
and then he grabs him and jerks him down into hell or whatever. But anyway, so they get to this there's this kind of back and forth between like Nate and Troy, and arguing about like, you're not a good friend. Well, you did this and you did that, and you never carry through with anything, and so there's kind of this bickering between them. Ultimately, they make their way into the cave, and the whole thing with Mabel is she wants her name written on like their scrolls. Like, she wants to be recorded in history in their realm and remembered as this like hero or whatever. So whenever they're trying to sneak up on, Ukaban and his, kind of servants, which are kind of like
Mad Max.
I was gonna say Mad Max crossed with like there's a very specific image that's in my head of a character. Oh, he's like, what's that guy from Mortal Kombat that had the like thing across his chest? And
Shao Kahn.
He kind of looked like Shao Kahn a little bit. And they have this battle with them, and ultimately Nate is like overcome, right? And then Troy comes and saves him, and they have this like moment of them saving each other, and maybe, hey, they value each other's friendship more than they were letting on, whatever. They jump into Ukaban's weird like slimy loins or something, which is apparently the portal that's being opened up. They get shot back, And all of a sudden, and I'm getting their names mixed up, but all of a sudden Troy is there, but also
I was trying to think of who ended up in which body.
I think it's Nate.
Yeah.
Nate winds up inside the vessel.
Yeah.
right.
And Troy-
The
Yes,
girl that was going to have Ukabon, instead of Ukabon ending up in the vessel, Nate ends up in the vessel. Right?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
You can't like fuck with an Ukabon, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
This is
he knows
classic
what's up.
tale. Classic tale. And I tell my kids that all the time. But they like but then they get back and then they immediately and also because Mabel completely gives up the group because they're trying to sneak up on them, and she just blurts out,
Remember to
write my name.
Yeah, remember to write my name.
Remember to write my name. And then this other like demon thing comes down and just like rips her in half, basically.
Yeah, just stabs her. Like just this winged demon
what's
falls from the
great-
sky. Yeah.
Well, what I love is that Troy still wrote her name, and I like could only imagine it'd be really funny if now that group of witches would just now worshipped Mabel. That's what I see as
They do.
Yeah, I
They
thought
do.
she was gonna go for.
It's like in the credits.
Did I miss that little? Oh,
Yeah. It's
Wait, say that one more
it's
time.
in the credits. Like you hear them chanting the name of Mabel at the end.
Oh, I missed
Yeah.
that. I just heard Danzig, and I was like, all right. But anyway, yeah. So
Danzig, this goes off.
Yeah, I was like, I can't deal with Danzig. I had to devil lock all that thing. Anyway, so yeah, they're all mad that the ritual failed. They very quickly kill Nate and Troy, and they're just like, what the fuck happened? They're like blaming each other about how like shit happened, and they're like, let's do it again. She's like, it's once in 1,000 years. Like, you can't do it again. And then as you know, Troy, right? The one Troy's the one holding the camera essentially.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As he dies, he crawls over and writes Mabel in the sacred book that the witches were using. So he does hold up his end of the bargain there.
but he still dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he still dies. Correct.
Yeah.
And then the tape kind of shoots back to the previous segment where you see the kids, stone bodies, and then the camera battery goes out. And then, then
cut to Danzig.
And then cut straight to Danzig.
What we can count on with this anthology is that everyone fucking dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's never any heroes in these
standard
movies
practice.
or in these segments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I think 94 was better in my opinion. If we're doing comparisons of like these new wave of VHS movies, but there were things I liked about most of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember. I mean, the ones that stuck out in my head, 94, were definitely, the RAATMA.
Well, yeah,
that one was great.
It had RAATMA,
and then
it had that crazy one from Indonesia.
Yes, where there was like the mech woman thing, or that one was good. But the one in the
funeral home.
Funeral home. My God, I kept wanting to say cemetery. In the funeral home was pretty lackluster in that one. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice self-contained little short film, and that's why I think it works within like VHS 94 because it's just kind of it helps 94 pad out, and then it sticks out on its own. Like it's not. You would never watch that by itself.
Yeah.
So like some of these you can watch on their own. Like I would watch Ozzy's Dungeon on its own. I would watch To Hell and Back on its own. I would watch that as a longer, like, so those are creative. But then I think the Gawkers wraparound kind of needs to be part of the anthology, obviously.
That one was, it was kind of one note.
The cemetery sorority one is also kind of one note. And, like, like the coffin aspect works really well because obviously there's a whole nother movie that's just a coffin movie, but how many times can you do a coffin movie before you're ripping off somebody?
I just remembered the other one that I really loved in 94, which was the one with the all the militia guys.
Right, yeah.
The weird religious militia guys that end up getting killed by vampires. That one was great. That was fucking great. You're probably right. I don't know if this hit the same highs or was as consistent maybe as 94, but I really had a blast with this movie too. Like both 94 and 99. Like as far as I'm concerned, these two are the best of the franchise. I will absolutely watch both of them again.
I got to go back to the first three of these.
Yeah, I feel like I still have some sort of time and place attachment to the first couple because I think like there was actually this element to them that made me kind of scared. Like they were genuinely scary to me at that point. They were
less cartoonish and over the top.
Yes.
They were more scary.
More like they were actually trying to make it feel like they were pulling random VHS tapes that you would find. You know what I mean? Like I've been calling them less
sadistic
cartoony
shit and stuff you're not supposed to be watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have 94 and 99 have become, crazy over the top cartoonish with big wild swings. But like, I know that that's my sensibility that I like about it, but yeah, they're by no means like none of them I would consider particularly scary, but they're really just super fun and just fucking wild. And like I said, the element that I really like is you genuinely don't know what you're getting from segment to segment, and it feels like they could go in any direction.
Yeah, that's why Ozzy's Dungeon works so well, because I don't know that you could really justify it being a 90-minute film because it works so well taking those swings within 3-minute increments of like going from the TV show to the Saw basement to the Lovecraft cave.
You'd have to pad it out with so much like character development of the host and of the family, and it would probably that's why I like this format for those big crazy swings, is because you don't have to, because when I think of movies, like I feel like a Japanese filmmaker, like the sensibility of Japanese filmmaking specifically, I feel like somebody would take that and make a 90-minute feature out of it. But it would be like a long way to get for the payoff.
Right.
But Japanese horror fans are more apt to do that for whatever reason.
Because if it was padded out by a Japanese filmmaker, it'd feel more like Uzumaki, where like weird things are happening every 10, 15 minutes anyway.
Or even Hausu type of thing, like first half of Hausu kind of thing, before shit gets just like absolutely bonkers. But anyway, fun watch.
Yeah, definitely fun
as
watch.
As far as I'm concerned.
And being that they're both on Shudder, great to pair Deadstream with this, just to see both Joseph Winter and Vanessa Winter and Melody Stone and everything they do.
Yeah.
Totally.
All their little puppets and ghouly goos.
And I love the little one that like crawled out, and it was almost like a weird like little armadillo person that crawled out of that little hole in the like crag. That was great.
I love the little fat baby that he steals the trident from.
The little fat baby they stole the trident from. I really, really wanted that little fat baby to jump up, but it didn't. It did not. Little weird bald fat baby. Looked like Thor Johnson kind of thing, but like it was like on a little baby body.
Little George the Animal Steel demon.
He did, or maybe George the Animal Steel. Anyway, so a lot of fun. Go check out VHS 94. I mean, listen,
99.
We're not sponsored. 99, yes, thank you.
Both.
We're not sponsored by Shudder, although we probably should be. And guys, everyone, quick now, while you have a second, your phones are in your hand. DM Shudder and tell them that they should sponsor us because that would be awesome. Anyway,
Tubi's not following through, Brian.
I know. And listen, I've been praying to Tubi like every night. I've been collecting like buckets of cum and period blood and doing a bunch of sex magic to try to get Tubi to sponsor us, and I haven't got a letter yet, but I'm expecting it any day now. Anyway, if you don't have Shudder yet, like you're kind of fucking up, because it is like my favorite non-Tubi streaming service. That alone is going to make it so we never get sponsored by Shudder. But you know what? Got to stay true to myself. Listen, I have Tubi tattooed right above my ass crack for a reason.
God keeps it real.
It keeps stamps are real.
I keeps it real. All right. Anything else on VHS 99 or anything else I forgot?
No, that's it.
Yeah. Do we know what we're doing, guys? Because our next episode, hey.
We do.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I do know what we're doing. We're going to do...
T2.
Which we are referring to as T2, Terrifier 2. We're going to do Terrifier 2, and it's going to release on All Hallows Eve, boys and ghouls, which is Monday, of course, the 31st of October. So tune in to hear us talk about Terrifier 2. I sat down with my brother who had never seen, he's a big horror fan, but he had not seen the first Terrifier for some reason. And he was like, ooh, doggy, that's a movie. That's a whole thing.
Can I read off what my buddy... So I've been talking to people a lot about it lately, too, because I'm like... I hadn't seen it ever. Yeah. And so I asked him, he watched it last night. He said, it was so incredibly ridiculous. I was laughing through most of it.
Yeah.
Clown face emoji.
Yeah.
So, well,
it's got tons of laughs.
It does. And also, but I got spooked. I was tense a little bit.
I know.
I was like, I liked that.
I don't know. And listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I'll never, it's all about preference. I totally get it. There are people who only watch Mike Flanagan, and then there are people who love Terrifier. You know what I mean? So it's there's everybody and everybody in between. But Terrifier, I just watched it for, I think it was the third time. I've liked it more every time I watched it. And I genuinely think it's such a unique movie. It's hyper violent, over the top, gory, but the freaking performance, there's not another villain like Art the Clown. There just isn't. I'm trying to think. There's no one like him that is as weird and sadistic and also genuinely funny. Anyway, if you haven't seen the first Terrifier, certainly make sure you see it before you see the first one, or go back and watch All Hallows Eve, which has the first segment where Art the Clown came from.
Yeah, although that's not the same actor.
I don't think I've seen that. Wait.
It's not the same actor, and it doesn't even look like him as much, but that is where Art the Clown as a character originated in the anthology All Hallows Eve.
Send me a link. I don't
it's
think
on
I've seen
Tubi.
it. So.
It's on Tubi. Okay. Yeah, All Hallows Eve.
Send me a link.
Yeah, the link is
Don't make me
Tubi.
do work.
Tubi. Just typed in Tubi.
Guys, I only have one day off this week. Send me a link.
I can't be typing in Tubi. Anyway, Terrifier, it's not even necessarily my type of flick. I don't tend to gravitate towards the ultra super hyper violent just for the sake of it, but something about it in that movie, it just is shocking and over the top and works. And I'm excited to talk about Terrifier 2.
Muff clothespin, guys. I mean, I feel like I said other things we get a clothespin body. I mean, you don't even know the reference. You don't even understand what I'm saying, but let your imagination go places.
Yeah, and then also let that. Yeah, in
the context of this is a very ultra violent horror
It's in a
movie.
book, Reading Rainbow. Yeah, no, but that's not even the most brutal. I mean, that's the most violent over the top.
We got plenty of time. We're gonna have a whole episode.
We're not talking about Terrifier,
I don't know why
guys.
We're getting off on a whole thing with Terrifier.
We're not talking
guys.
about Terrifier. We'll
Stop
talk about it next week.
making me talk about Terrifier, guys.
We're gonna have a whole episode about it.
Okay.
We'll hold on. So we can even touch on the first one.
Make sure you tune in next week on All Hallows Eve. Hail Satan, you guys, as we talk about Terrifier 2, but also undoubtedly talk about T1, Terrifier 1, which I'm going to adopt this as well. Now.
I'm glad you guys instantly jumped on board because no one understands. I made that up as we were talking.
I'm going to I'm taking it to a step further where it's if I haven't watched Terrifier in a while, I'm going to say that I have low T.
Oh, God.
All right. On that note, boys and ghouls, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Mr. October.
I forgot Reggie Jackson himself. See you later. Fuck off. Bye.